YouTube? Welcome to the first premiere of the new BMW M4. You are here at West German BMW. My name is JP Dunphy. I'm your BMW genius here to help walk you through our live event tonight. Again, thanks so much for joining us. If you're just joining the stream now, have a couple other people join in. You know, we'd like to have more people on here. The more we have, the more fun it will be for you. But with that, enough hearing from me. Let's take a peek at the star of the show today. Let me show you the new M4 right here in person. Just take a look at some of these great features. Look at that new frameless front grille. You know, again, it's a little controversial to some people, but I personally have really grown to love it. It is just three-dimensional and it is something to see in person, let me tell you. So if you haven't yet, come on down, see this thing in person before someone else snatches it up. But enough of that, let's talk about some of the other great features of this thing. It's got the laser headlights on the front, that new aerodynamically fully optimized front end, and I gotta tell you, just being at this thing in person is really something else. All right, let's take a quick look over this way. So, moving along the side, you will see that this particular one does have the staggered wheel setup. That's an option, so it comes standard with 18 fronts, 19 rears. But this particular one has the 19-inch fronts, 20-inch rears, 275 width front, 285 in the rear. So that's that same staggered setup that gives BMW M cars that traditional M feel and grip on the road. Moving back, you do see the brand new aerodynamically enhanced mirrors. This one has a nice little M piece right here that everyone recognizes. When they see that mirror, they know this is an M mirror. New little side skulls, just tiny touches everywhere to really bring out the character in this car. Strong lines on the underside. Wait till you hear Vila talk about that later in our live portion. He's going to really give you the ins and outs of that as we go. Carbon fiber roof brings this thing together, and then of course as we move to the back, every small detail, every little nook and cranny made and aerodynamically enhanced to make this car the best it can possibly be. Rounding it out, we're going to go a couple videos later about the sound of this. Right here is your massive M quad exhaust, exactly what you're used to. And look at the size of these things. They're about the size of my fist. Huge, huge, huge exhaust tips. And again, we're going to go over some of those details later. But in the meantime, enough talk about this. Time for you to see the interior. What do you say? Let's go. Hey guys, welcome to the interior of the M4. So in here, you see a lot of it is just a typical 3 Series interior. However, there are all those nice M touches that we've come to really love, like the M1, M2 buttons right here on the steering wheel. For those of you who don't know, they're just simple 1-touch, 2-touch to actually confirm and get you in those M modes. Now, everything else on here is standard BMW fare. You do have the contrast stitching on here with that red, blue, and purple around the inside. You know, all those little tiny touches that are just like, woo! Moving on to that, this is the 6-speed manual. So you got that right here. It is the standard H pattern with R next to, with a reverse next to 1. With a reverse lockout, so you can't just get into there easily. You do have to give it a nice little slap to get into there. Also, you have your M setup, N mode, and sound control buttons right down here. The entire iDrive is slightly moved compared to where we had it before, so it is a little closer to the handrest here. That is something to try and see if that is something that will bother you. But aside from that, the interior here is just great. The seats are super supportive, very comfortable. With all the nice adjustability that we've come to enjoy with BMW M seats. Now, this isn't the M bucket seats. If we do get one of those, I'll do a separate video on that for you as we go forward. But as of right now, these are the standard M seats. Great comfort for long driving, sporty driving, fantastic thigh support, great hugging, your hips and thighs and everything about you. You know, this thing just holds you in exactly the way you want to. And again, this just beefy steering wheel. It feels great in the hands. And I mean, my personal driving position is nice and close, but because of the variability in here, you can get exactly the driving position that you want, whether you're 6'8" or, you know, 5'10", or in my case, just barely 6 foot. I like to say I'm 6 foot, but anyway. Moving on from that, everything on here, this particular one does have the parking assist. So with the manual transmission and park assist, let's turn this guy on real fast. Oh, let's turn this guy on, and now when we go into the driving, I know I'm really close to that. Let's just scoot this forward just a smidget so we're not getting that alarm. There we go. So you'll see that we do still have automated parking and backup assistance. Now, unlike the automatic transmissions, that will require you to physically take care of accelerating, decelerating, and getting into each gear. So that's the main difference with this, but you can still get the parking assistant with a manual transmission. Like I said, it just works a little bit different. You do have on-screen prompts for all those options. Aside from that, you have your entire setup option. Let's get out of parking assistant. Entire setup option with all the standard ones. Now you have the engine, gear shift assistant, that's your rev match, automatically goes into gear for you. Like I said, I'm gonna go underneath the car and actually show you exactly, there's only one sensor on the entire gearbox, and that's just a gear position sensor. So that tells you which gear you're in, so therefore the engine and ECU can actually talk to each other and say, hey, he's in this gear, we need a rev match to this point. So that helps for every single rev match. Anytime you do a rev match in this, it will do it itself. You can turn that off, obviously. And then, of course, the typical chassis controls, steering controls, as well as the brakes. Now, the brakes are electronically assisted, so you can actually change whether you want to be comfort, so a little less effort, or sport to give you that instant brake feel as you go. That is something we can show you and kind of, well, we can't really show it to you, but we can describe it as we drive it around a little bit later, or as we do the drive-bys. I'll talk about that with those. Now, if you go into the actual M setup, as you go into your M1 and M2 setup through the M menus, you will see you have a few more configurations on here than just your typical M setup for the street. This will give you everything from chassis, gear shift, steering, brake, and now from here you can go through your DC S, so your dynamic stability control, anything from full DCS on, then to your M dynamic mode, or DCS off, depending on what you want in your setup. Auto start stop, you can turn on and off. It actually is extremely smooth. I was kind of impressed when I was driving around just earlier, just being able to feel it. It's not intrusive at all. If you are worried about that auto start stop, it is not intrusive, even as a manual transmission. And then, of course, the last one you get right here is your sound control. Now, something else I'll go over underneath the vehicle. Sound control is each side of the exhaust actually has two little valves, and instead of being binary, either open or close, it can actually vary itself in terms of how much it opens or closes. So when you have sound control on, it'll be quiet at idle, and as you increase your revs, it's going to open up more, giving you more sound. If you go into full M mode, it's going to bypass that entirely and just say, nope, wide open, let's hear this puppy the whole time. All right, enough of the interior, let's get to some drive-bys. Alright, so now we're inside the shop. I got this thing up on the lift here. The guys in here are great to help out with that. And I just want to show you guys some of the great aerodynamic features and some of the things underneath this car. So the actual intakes, these little ones right here lead straight to the brakes. This one leads to these little side coolers in here. Got that big radiator in the back there. And one of my favorite little touches that you really don't get to see too much, if you look right here, see this little tiny lip right here? That guy creates a negative pressure because right behind it, if you look underneath, there's your oil cooler. Look at the size of that thing. That is a big oil cooler. So looking through that, and then let's sneak under here this way. You can see right here when you look up, all the air, like the way it's made to flow through there, right here is where that air will come out from the front to hit those brakes and cool it down perfectly. I mean, they made every effort to make the front of this car as streamlined as possible so the air comes in with minimal disturbance. It's really impressive what they've done with this. So all the air that goes through here, the way that this canal is designed, every single thing. Oh, by the way, nice little side touch. Look right here. See how not only do you have the air curtain, but inside there, these little guys kind of lift up a little at the end, so they're kind of like built-in canards to help with front downforce while also making that air curtain do its thing. So I mean, that's just really fun to actually see and look at. I love looking at this stuff. Also, just look how beefy these tires are. I mean, this particular one does have that 19 front, 20-inch rear tire setup. They're the Michelin Pilot Sport 4S's, and you know, giant brakes. Look at those 6 pots. Woof. The little things that they've done. Oh, by the way, while we're on the brakes, one thing I do want to show with it up in the air, look on the back here. You know, we only have the single piston rear caliper, but if you look, it is just so lightweight to do the single piston. And also look at how much that refocus. There we go. The actual depth of that hat to the rotor is so much thinner than if you used to have a drum brake inside as your e-brake. So this one combines that single piston with the e-brake in the back, making it a much more efficient, much more lightweight and smaller package, while still giving great braking ability. Something else I want to show while I'm underneath, look at how nice and smooth the underside of this car is. Now it does have that big exhaust, I'll go over that in just a minute, but I mean, this thing is just made for as much aerodynamic goodness. Oh, look at all these lightweight pieces. Oh God, I love it. Sorry, getting a little excited about this. Just a little. Anyway, next thing I want to show you while I'm underneath this car, look at that exhaust. Now you see how it does this kind of, this little twin exhaust look in the back? That's mainly for sound, but it's also because of the twin turbo setup of the car. Now what they have is on the actual turbo manifolds, they are asymmetrical. That attributes to the sound and also the spool characteristics of this engine. But as you see, they come down, and even though they kind of go different directions, they are actually equal length as you look through the entirety of this. And it goes down all the way to the end. Look at the size of that cooler. That diff cooler on the back here. I mean, this thing is a good maybe 2 inches, 2.5 inches of depth to those air coolers, those air fins right there. And that is just really impressive. Something else to see right here, you have your usual exhaust valves. And the nice thing is, unlike some of our previous ones, they are all variable. So they're not just simply open and close. They can go any level of open and close as you drive and as you change your different exhaust modes. Also, huge exhaust openings. All of them are functional, and it's an easy way to make this car sound amazing. I mean, the BMW engineers have really gone out of their way to make sure that this car sounds great. And I have, personal opinion, I think they really succeeded in doing that. So another thing that is worth noting, you see the size of this exhaust. I mean, it is big. It is really big. 70 millimeters compared to the previous gens, the F80s. 65 millimeters for the actual size. There we go, refocus there. And it's just, it shows. I mean, it is unreal. One other thing that's worth noting, if you look at this transmission, this is the manual transmission, and going into there, it is actually the exact same one that we got on the F80, just slightly reinforced. They've already done a great job making this thing, and they're just kind of making it better. Little tweaks here and there, but otherwise it's the same transmission, really made to make this car just be amazing for what it is. They did beef it up for the higher horsepower, and you know, that's really, it really shows in just the way this car feels on the road. Something else aerodynamically I want to point out, look at this line right here, right? That very distinct line. That thing was specifically made for, as the air comes over the back of the car, they wanted to make sure that it tumbles off as smoothly as possible. That line, that little tiny crease there, is millimeter precise in terms of where it is. And again, it shows in the way it drives. When you drive this thing, you're going to notice that it has next to no wind noise. It's really something to experience. And with its dual clutch manual, it actually has 2 clutch plates, 4 friction plates. One of those is on the dual mass flywheel that sits right up against the engine. And it just really attributes to putting that power down and just making it really easy to drive day to day. So again, I just want to show you this underside because it is, oh, it is really something to behold. So yeah, that is all the aerodynamics. Let's get out of this. Let's get out of the shop.
I must say, the 2021 BMW M4, all new, is an unbelievable feel. It has put every complaint, but every positive thing, and put it into the right direction. From the sense of the throttle, from the steering to the shift points. It is by far one of the easiest vehicles to handle and maneuver. I must say, this is now one of my favorite BMWs I have ever driven.
Thanks so much for tuning in for our video portion of the new M4. You know, we're so happy to be bringing this to you. Don't forget to stay tuned because very soon we're going to be switching to the live portion of this event with all our questions and answers. So again, stick with us. We're going to start that in just a moment. See you soon.